Hi, this is Emily Blanck, and today we're going to talk about how to structure your paper. We're going to go over the 5 major components that there are in a strong research paper. So there are 5 components to writing a strong essay. First, you need to have an introduction with a good thesis statement. Then you need to have body paragraphs that use solid topic sentences to explain your ideas. Third, you need to have evidence with complete citations. Fourth, your writing needs to be logical and clearly written and grammatical. And then lastly, you need to have a good, strong conclusion to reiterate your main points. The introduction is a very important part of your paper. The object of the introduction is to set up your thesis. So the beginning of your paper should give you some background information leading up to the thesis. Since the thesis statement is the most important part of your paper, it's important for it to be in an important spot. For some people, that might be at the beginning, but a better place is at the very end of that paragraph. Do not put your thesis statement in the middle of the paragraph. It will get lost. The thesis statement needs to be a debatable point that's clear, concrete, and defendable by your sources. Also, a thesis for an A paper needs to be interesting, sophisticated, and answers the question in a deep manner. As I've stated before, a strong thesis statement is the foundation of your paper. So let's go through some examples, starting with an F paper kind of thesis statement and moving to an A paper thesis statement. So this first thesis statement is not a thesis statement. Therefore, it's the foundation of a bad paper, an F-level paper. Bill Clinton was President of the United States. This is a fact. It doesn't tell us anything. There's no reason that you need to write anymore. It's just a sentence, and therefore is the foundation of a bad paper. Now, a bad thesis, one that will lead to a bad writing of a paper, is something like Bill Clinton was a bad president. This is really just a piece of opinion, and the term bad is highly debatable. Bad could mean that he stole cookies from the cookie jar when he was a kid. It could mean that he is in favor of gun control, or it could mean that he was a corrupt president. We don't know what it means. And so being more specific and concrete in your ideas will keep you away from just pure opinion and will lead to a stronger paper. So let's look at a C-level paper thesis statement. And here we have Bill Clinton was an ineffective president. Now that gets more specific. We understand that he was a bad president because he was ineffective. He wasn't able to do the things he wanted to do. But it's still really vague. What does it mean to be ineffective? And it could lead you to all kinds of places in your paper. And a person wants to know what they're leading to in their paper. So let's look at a B thesis statement. This statement is fine. I think it would lead to a very good paper. And this is Bill Clinton's personal improprieties undermined his policies. Here we have a purpose, a reason why he was being ineffective, that he had these personal improprieties with Monica Lewinsky. And what happened because of these things? He couldn't get his policies through, and therefore that's why he's ineffective. So it explains the ineffective and in 2 more concrete ways. Lastly, let's look at an A paper. This is a thesis statement that is sophisticated and offers a lot of information for the reader. Despite the vast success of Bill Clinton's first term, balancing the budget and improving the social welfare system, Bill Clinton's personal mistakes undermined his ability to fulfill his policy agenda. So first of all, something I really like about this thesis statement is it has a counter-argument. This creates a much more sophisticated idea. When you are reading a paper that has an argument, you already have information in your head. And in the case of Bill Clinton, a lot of people might be thinking, well, he got so much done in his first term. How could he be bad president? Here we recognize that he got a lot done, but then we show how his personal improprieties, how his scandals really kept him from being able to fulfill the policies that he wanted to accomplish, and therefore he was a bad president, right? So looking at this, I hope you can see that developing a thesis that really lays a claim and explains itself leads to a strong paper. After reading this, I can really see where the paper is going, and I know what to expect. Now, your paper also has to have body paragraphs, a minimum of 3 structural pieces that will really substantiate what your thesis is. And they need to have good topic sentences. Now, the topic sentence is key. I almost always read topic sentences as the first thing that I go through in the paper because they are the structure of your paper. They need to do two things. First of all, a good topic sentence needs to refer back to the thesis. We need to make sure that it's clearly related to the thesis. And then it also should explain the material that follows. So something like Bill Clinton was born in Hope, Arkansas doesn't really count as a good topic sentence, even though it's the beginning of his story, because the rest of the paragraph is probably not about him being born in Arkansas, but probably the rest of his life as well. So make sure that you have a topic sentence that supports the body paragraph, connecting it to the thesis statement. Inside that body, you need to have really good evidence that's going to prove the topic sentence and therefore the thesis, and make sure you have citations every time you use a source. Again, the citation, I can't talk about citations enough. Make sure that they're drawn from other people's facts or ideas, and make sure that the citations are complete with page numbers. Make sure you cite when you paraphrase, when you use quotes, and make sure you use quotation marks when you're quoting other people. Now, none of this would matter if you don't have a good logic and clear writing to follow up your paper. Now, logical writing is really important, and it's one of the things students have a hardest time with. Make sure you fulfill your argument. So if you're going to promise to say something, make sure the paper itself fulfills all the things you promise. So that's one important part of the logical argument. But also make sure your argument makes sense. Make sure it's not circular. Here I have a political cartoon about penguins, and whether penguins are the same thing as black and white TV, because they're both black and white, that's faulty logic, right? We can all see that. Students sometimes do this on a much more lighter scale, but make sure that your ideas follow from each other. And one way to do that and signal this to the reader is to use good transition words like although, in addition, and therefore. Also, an important element is clear writing. Some quick things to watch out for that I've seen a lot are your pronouns. Pronouns really lead to unclear writing. Make sure that your pronouns have a clear antecedent. Make sure that you watch the use of pronouns like that in this, because sometimes they're really unclear about what they refer to. To make sure they're clear, put this presidency or that car. Make sure you give some kind of little noun to attach to that pronoun to make clear what you're talking about. Make sure you're writing grammatically, and make sure you use strong, specific language that is as specific to that issue as possible. Use active verbs. Though to-be verbs are really don't offer much in explaining how the subject and the object connect. So the more you can choose a verb that is really concrete and shows action, the better your paper is going to be. And related to that, make sure you avoid the passive tense. The passive tense is something like, Bill Clinton was impeached. What's the problem with that? We don't know who impeached Bill Clinton. And it also doesn't give as much information. So we would rather have you say something like, Congress and the press impeached Bill Clinton. This allows us to know who the actor really is in the sentence, and also gives us an active sentence that makes us more interested in reading it. Lastly, your paper needs to have a strong conclusion. The conclusion needs to restate the argument in a clear and concrete way. And if possible, leave the reader with a small bit of interesting news to finish off the paper. Now, one warning is oftentimes, because writing is a thinking process, you're going to write your thesis statement stronger in your conclusion than you did at the beginning of your paper. If you do that, make sure you take the thesis statement in that improved version and move it up to your paper, up to the top of your paper, and make it your real thesis statement. You want your strongest statement of your thesis to be at the beginning of the paper so that the reader gets intrigued. Sometimes this might mean you want to restructure your paper because maybe you figured out a better way to explain what you want to say, and therefore just revise your paper so that it fits that stronger thesis statement. And then rewrite it in a different way slightly for the conclusion. With this strong ending and a strong beginning, you should have an A paper. Thank you.